The Vikes against the Lions, Pontiac Stadium, Pontiac, Michigan, but the game not getting underway on time. The officials checking their respective watches. The Vikings tardy in arriving. The game starts a half hour late. Oh, what a game it was. The first play of the fourth quarter. The teams tied at 3 apiece. The handoff. Bobby Lee at quarterback to Chuck Forman. In for the touchdown. The Vikes lead 10-3. Talkington did not play in the second half.
So, Chuck, what was the deal? Why were you guys a half hour late?
You know, Bud was one of those kind of guys. He never allowed to get there too early, and sometimes things didn't work out. Bus was late, or something didn't start. You know, he was. Yeah, we were always like the last people in the training camp. We didn't get to the stadium too early, just enough time to warm up.
Fashionably late.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
You're in trouble, right?
And we are here with the pride and joy of Frederick, Maryland. That would be none other than number 44, Chuck Forman. So Chuck, did you ever get interviewed by Howard Cosell? Did you ever meet him?
Oh yeah, I met Howard Cosell. I think at a Super Bowl he interviewed me, and I think that was in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
was
that
he
was
likable. What did you like him?
Very much so. I mean, actually, yeah, he was a nice guy. I mean, for the short time I got to sit with him, he's very knowledgeable, obviously, and at that time he was the voice of the NFL.
Of course, he was nice until, wasn't it? Some of your teammates. I don't know if you were involved.
I was watching it, but
what happened?
What they did was I think he was interviewing Fran or somebody. I don't know which one. And Wally, I think it was Wally Hilgenberg, who was pretty much a prankster. And, you know, he had that toupee, you know.
Okay.
Howard Cosell, and they poured the water on top of it. And believe me, he was not a happy camper.
Yeah, they dumped that bucket of water from the balcony.
Yeah, they dumped the water on him, and he was totally teed off. I think he hated us after
that. That's pretty funny. You know, I was talking to a couple of our kids who are Vikings fans, and said, "Hey, we're going to have Chuck Forman on the podcast today." And I went back to look at some of the things that you had done. We've talked to you over the years when I was back with Phil. We did PMS 2.0. But I don't understand why you're not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, what do people have to do, maybe listening to this podcast, have to do? I just want to put the stats out there.
Okay.
Five times an All-Pro in 7 years. You ran for 1,000 yards 3 times, and this was in a 14-game season. Yes. Yeah, and most importantly, you were the #1 back in all-purpose running yards, 3,100 over your career. And it just, you go through the lists of people from your teammates who are in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. They don't get there unless there's a Chuck Forman on that team. So what does it take to get you in, sir?
First of all, number one, your team has to be behind you, number one. And that hasn't happened for me anyway. So, I think they push Jim Marshall all the time, and it's unfortunate because as much as I respect Jim and his accomplishments in the league, don't misunderstand me, but there's several others that deserve that type of support. And, I haven't seen it, but, believe me, I'm not losing any sleep over it. Yeah. Do I think I belong in there? Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no question, no doubt, nothing in my mind that would suggest that I don't belong, but that's that Hall of Fame thing is, I don't know. It's a different, I don't know who evaluates and who makes the choices, but I think what they probably need to do is figure out a different way of doing it. Because it's not only me, but there's a lot of guys out there that belong in there.
Would you have been a lock for the Hall of Fame, Chuck, had it not been for that snowball in Buffalo?
Well, I would have won the Triple Crown then. Yeah. Doubt about it. So certainly 6 yards probably kept me out of the Hall of Fame. But, with all that said, I'm in such a comfortable place with where I'm at and what I've accomplished. And I can tell you this, there's not a day that goes by that not 5 or 6 people, when they talk to me, "Hey, how's it feel to be in the Hall of Fame?" I'm like, "Man, I'm not in there." Yeah, and that's exactly what they say. and so I don't know. I think after such a long period of time, it's not something that I think about other than when it comes up and people ask me all the time, especially when that time of year comes around. People ask me, but you know, I kind of at this point in time, what good does it do?
Yeah.
What
No,
can
I get where you're coming from on that. I was surprised. I looked it up. The Hall of Fame started in 1963. 17 guys went in then. There's only 371 people in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm not sure why they're trying to be so exclusive
right?
over that 60-year period of time. That's just not a lot of guys. That's 6 guys per year. And it seems to me that's you'll get in someday because they'll go back on some centennial of the football era and they'll say, hey, we're going to get this guy and you'll be dead. So
Yeah, there you go.
we want you to get in while you're alive so you can enjoy the moment, because you are a Hall of Famer. Like people come up to you and say you're not in the Hall of Fame. How is that possible? That's what I thought. I said,
right.
Wait, he's in the Hall of Fame, right? No. How is that possible? I didn't even like the Vikings, but I think you should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it is what it is. But what I'm saying is, like, to me, when I see guys that go in there after they've gone on to the next place, what good's it do? Yeah, I mean, you're gone.
Yeah.
Your family really can't benefit from it. You don't benefit from it. So, I mean, they need to make some changes in how they do it. And hey, man, after you get past a certain time, then don't even consider a guy. Let him go on to the sunset and don't have that. Well, is it possible thing going on for me? I'm like, hey, I'm good.
Well, and well, hopefully, one of these times they will get you in, Chuck. You would deserve it, but you've got an excellent attitude about the whole thing, no doubt.
Yes, you do. I respect your attitude on it because it could be bitter for some people. Yeah,
I've seen guys cry. Now, listen, this is a game of football, and hey, and I played, and I was one of the best in my time. In fact, I know that everybody knows that. But there's no way I'm going to cry because I didn't get selected to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, just like, come on, it's not that important.
Well, and of course you come from a different generation, Chuck. When I was getting that Howard Cosell, intro for you, I was watching some of the old highlights and noticing that in a couple of plays in that segment I was looking at, you were tackled like 5 yards out of bounds. I mean, way out of bounds, no flag. Right. It was a different game back then, wasn't
it? They try to hurt you. Back in Chicago. In Chicago Stadium at the time, they had that dugout in there, and they try to throw you in that thing. I mean, no joke. I mean, it was not like the game of the day. Anything goes till the whistle blows.
Yeah,
and you had to be aware of all that. You come across the middle, your receiver, you weren't coming across there about getting knocked out.
Oh,
I mean, you better have your head on the swivel, otherwise, they're going to take you out. So these guys now, they catch all these passes, they do all this. Poor defensive backs can't even bump you. They look at you wrong, they call a penalty.
Well, and now when someone makes a play of any kind, be it a sack or a reception, they've got to do some kind of a dance or a gesture, even if it's not a touchdown, to let you know, right?
Yeah, the only thing I know, I scored a lot of touchdowns, and I think every one of them, I was just too darn tired to do anything but get to the sideline and get some oxygen. And that was just me, but I would never.
No, I think that was your era too. We don't see all the fancy dancing that we saw in the 70s and in the 60s. You go back further than that. These guys like Phil and I were talking before the show. I lived in Redwood City, California, across the street from 3 49ers in the 1960s. One was a plumber, one was a car salesman, and one sold insurance. But they, like you said, they played to knock your teeth out every day.
They if you did that after you beat a guy, and you then went to try to embarrass him by pointing fingers or getting in his face, the next time you go on the field, Like the team, the defense, they don't even care what you're running. They just all going to come at you.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to let you know, hey, you don't do that. That's the way it was then. Now it's like, I guess they must practice these dances now, because when I see them on TV, it's like they've had to had some practice time to do that.
So,
Well,
Chuck, as we leave you, I know I see you pop up on your Facebook page, and you're all over the place, and it's always great to see what you're doing. So folks can follow you on social media, and I know you come out and do events.
Right.
Is that the best way to get a hold of you, is through
Yeah,
social media?
they can go to, chuckforman44.com and click that site, and Ben Ticey's the guy that I work with that does a phenomenal job with all that we do, and he'll make it happen.
That's
And
awesome.
it's fun too. So yeah, and that's been a lot of fun, because that's a whole different venue that's opened up for all of us. So
yeah.
I've been very happy with how it's been going.
And that's chuckforman44.com.
Yep, chuckforman44.com.
And you've got merchandise available. People can get signed things and
Signed things. We do birthday parties. We do anything you can think of, almost. For you.
As long as it's
Yeah,
legal,
so
right?
some of the requests we get are kind of crazy, but no, we kind of have to pick and choose. But yeah, it's been an interest. I've been to places I didn't think I'd ever be.
Number 44, Chuck Forman again, chuckforman44.com, chuckforman44.com, and watch and also follow you on Facebook. You can see where you're going to be at, all your the engagements you've been at, football viewing parties, signing events, and you're all over the place. So chance to see Chuck and say hi.
All right, I'll have to come over and visit with you sometime on my way to Maryland.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we're down in Indiana. I'm in Columbus.
I know. Yeah, I'll be in touch, because I come through that way.